A large sandstorm suddenly hit the city. Strong winds swept sand everywhere, turning the sky dark and limiting visibility. People quickly sought shelter, and traffic came to a halt because of the difficult conditions. After the storm, the city was covered in sand, leaving everything in a chaotic state that needed to be cleaned up. A flash flood struck, engulfing the entire neighborhood in raging waters. Cars were swept away, houses collapsed, and people scrambled for safety. When the water receded, only devastation remained. The violent storm struck, sweeping everything in its path. The wind howled, lifting cars and tossing them like toys. The streets were in chaos, shattered glass flying everywhere. A massive tsunami suddenly struck the coast of Japan, bringing with it a terrifying force of destruction. The ocean roared as a towering wall of water surged toward the land at incredible speed. In an instant, houses, cars, and buildings were swept away, reduced to debris floating in the raging flood. People panicked, running for their lives as warning sirens blared across the city. Streets quickly turned into rivers, with powerful currents dragging everything in their path. Rescue helicopters took to the skies, and emergency teams rushed into action, fighting to save lives amidst the chaos. But the waves didn't stop. They continued to push further inland, swallowing entire neighborhoods and leaving behind a landscape of devastation and fear. A small crack appears on the thick snow. Then, in the blink of an eye, the entire mountainside trembles. A colossal wall of snow suddenly shatters, cascading down like a deafening roar echoes. Through the valley, as the avalanche surges forward, a terrifying swallowing everything in its icy fury. In mere moments, the entire landscape is consumed, leaving behind only a vast, ghostly sea of water. A small tornado suddenly forms, swirling near the city. It picks up dust, dry leaves, and debris, spinning violently, moving toward the riverbank. It drags everything in its path, branches, trash, swirling clouds of dust before hurling them into the rushing water. The earth begins to shake violently. Numerous cracks are formed all along the river's edge, growing wider and wider with each passing moment. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a massive piece of land collapses completely. The houses nearby the river start to lean heavily towards one another, slipping and sliding with each passing second, eventually collapsing into the swiftly moving river, disappearing utterly and instantly. The ground shakes violently. Buildings sway, roads crack, and Japan experiences one of the strongest earthquakes in its history. But the worst is yet to come. Off the coast, the ocean suddenly retreats, exposing the seafloor in an eerie, unnatural sight. Moments later, a towering wall of water, higher than buildings, roars toward the shore. The massive wave crashes into the land, swallowing everything in its path. Dark, churning water engulfs entire towns. Houses splinter like matchsticks. Cars float like leaves in the raging flood. Streets once filled with life are now drowning in chaos, as desperate cries echo through the cold, merciless current. The Fukushima nuclear plant falls beneath the waves, triggering fears of radiation contamination. When the water finally recedes, Japan is left in ruins, a once thriving land, now wiped away in mere hours. The storm hit, and the wind howled fiercely. The swing ride shook violently, its chains clanging against each other in the heavy rain. The wind grew stronger, swirling dust and water around the deserted amusement park. The seawater rose, and powerful waves crashed onto the shore, flooding the city streets. As the current grew stronger, a car slowly began to drift, its wheels lifting off the ground as the storm raged on.
The flood swept through, its powerful currents eroding the road. A large crack began to form, breaking the asphalt apart. The rushing water swirled, tearing away the underground water pipe, leaving a deep crater in the middle of the street.
The raging flood tore through the city, swallowing everything in its path. Cars were swept away like toys, trees uprooted, and buildings battered by the relentless current. The once bustling streets disappeared beneath the murky, swirling water. Debris floated aimlessly, carried by the unstoppable force of nature. When the flood finally receded, it left behind nothing but a shattered landscape, broken roads, crumbled buildings, and the eerie silence of a city brought to its knees. Relentless heavy rain triggered a landslide, sending a massive wave of earth and rock crashing down the mountainside. Trees were uprooted, and everything in its path was swept away. In an instant, the rushing debris slammed into a gas station below. Metal groaned and twisted as fuel pumps collapsed, and the canopy crumbled under the force. A thick cloud of dust and rubble filled the air, leaving behind nothing but a scene of devastation. Rocks and soil tumbled down the mountainside, crashing onto the road, sending dust and debris into the air. Massive boulders rolled and settled as the thick layer of earth spread, covering the asphalt in a heavy blanket of brown and gray. Residents quickly gathered, surrounding the crocodile. Some attempted to restrain it, while others raised their phones to record. Voices buzzed with excitement as the floodwaters still lingered. A shark suddenly attacked, striking fiercely. Its sharp teeth clashed against the metal bars, creating a piercing sound. Fortunately, everyone was safely inside the steel cage. Witnessing the danger up close, a powerful tornado swept through, tearing off the school's roof and leaving only the bare concrete walls. The ground shook violently, cracking open to form a deep hole. Luxury cars slid down, crashing against the sides, deforming and shattering as they hit the bottom.
Nonetheless, most of the museum's exhibits were saved.
The dam flash flood raged on, swallowing cars whole in its furious, unstoppable current. Those poor vehicles were violently thrust against any obstacle in their path, crashing and crumpling like tin cans in the unrelenting torrent, before being flung across a crumbling bridge, swaying wildly in the relentless and catastrophic floodwaters. What the hell kind of force of nature is this?